Grief can make you feel completely alone, even when you are surrounded by people. And sometimes grief leaves you really alone without the person who was your world. And we may feel misunderstood. We may feel that people are not seeing us when we are going through that grief. What I want to tell you today is that we may experience different types of loneliness, that sense of being alone. And I want to explore with you each one of them. Hello, this is Ligia Houben. Welcome to my podcast, Transforming Grief. I do this with all my love because for me, grief is sacred. And this is a space where we share what we feel when we are grieving. And I also like to give you tools, to give you ideas to navigate the process of grief. I would greatly appreciate if you can subscribe to the channel, if you give a like to the episode, and if you share it with others, because there are so many people grieving, and there are so many people who feel alone. And the thing is that others sometimes don't listen to them when they are experiencing the sensation of being alone. I told you that there are different types of loneliness, not only one like an umbrella, no? There are different ones. I want to ask you right now, when do you feel lonely in your grief? Can you pinpoint that? If you have paper and a pen next to you, it would be great if you can write that down for you to be aware of when are the moments that you feel they don't see me, they don't understand me. Because the more we are in touch with how we feel, with what makes us feel lonely, the better it is, because then we can tackle that and I can help you better, okay? So when we talk about loneliness, we may mention four types of loneliness. The first one being emotional loneliness. No one understands me. I feel alone, even when you are surrounded by people. Grief is so personal, and others at times do their best to understand what we're going through. In reality, it is very hard that they understand. Many times people tell you if they experience a loss similar to yours, they tell you even, I know how you feel. And they mean well. Based on my experience with clients, people in the groups, they share that they don't like that because no one really knows how we feel. So people try to say the right words, but they don't sit well with us. And inside, we are alone with our pain. I remember that when I lost my mom back in 2020, I was driving one time back home and I was thinking about grief, because not only that I do this, professionally, but I was experiencing a very deep sorrow. I was very close to my mom, as I have said in other episodes. And I remember that I thought that grief is alone. We are alone in our grief. Because you know what? Grief is lived from the inside. The more in touch we are with it, the better. When that happened to me, I was so in touch. And remember that grief, the first times, is acute. However, grief is recurrent. It never disappears totally because love is eternal. So it's important for you to understand where you are. So that is the emotional loneliness. The second one is social loneliness, because you may say, my world changed. The world I knew just stopped existing. Now, who am I? I am just by myself in this. And you may have family members, you may have friends, but you feel in this world alone. Because when we lose a loved one, you do not only lose that person physically, no, but it changes your world. It changes your routines, your roles, what you are used to do, and sometimes even your relationships. So that is something that happens, the social loneliness. Many times people choose that because people withdraw. They don't want to be surrounded by others. They want to stop going to places. And what happens is that they isolate themselves. Is that happening to you? Do you feel social loneliness because you are pulling yourself away from being with others? If that is happening, take a pause and think about that. And think that maybe you can reach out to others or allow others to be with you if they want to be with you, because that may be also happening. That's why I suggested that you have a paper and you can start writing down, when is that I feel lonely? When is it? Okay, something that is also important. If you can write, do I feel more lonely, the sense of loneliness, more in the morning, in the afternoon, at night? What am I doing? So, because remember that we tend to have routines, as we said before, and we structure our days. When suddenly everything changes, we may have moments when that sense of loneliness is more present. Okay, so keep track of that and write it down. Now, there's another type of loneliness, which is, it's very deep, and is what we call existential loneliness. And what is it? Well, it's when we come up with those questions, no? That we ask, who am I? Who am I now? That's very deep. I recently was doing a Zoom and we're talking about existential questions. And that was one that was predominant, who am I? So when we experience a loss, that question comes up. And sometimes we even experience what we say, the loss of identity. We start asking ourselves all those things, because the thing is that loss not only takes the person away, the person who's no longer with you, but also may take away your identity, who you were with that person, the role you had. And then you may start asking that, who am I now? How is my life now? Where am I going without my loved one? And these are real questions. Have you ever wondered those things? And what have you done if you have posed yourself those questions? Where do I belong? Sometimes my clients tell me, Ligia, I don't know, where do I belong anymore? So this type of loneliness is not resolved just by ignoring all those questions. No, it is when you take the time, you sit down, you go deep, you connect, and then you may be even able to start finding meaning. Okay, and when we talk about connection, that would be the fourth type of loneliness, inner loneliness. And you may wonder, what is she talking about? Well, inner loneliness is when we feel disconnected with ourselves. We cannot connect with our emotions, because sometimes we may think that in order to cope, we have to disconnect from our emotions, from what we feel, from what we need. And sometimes we disconnect from ourselves. And when that happens, even if you are with all that amazing people next to you, even if you have support, you have that inner disconnection. Because remember that connection starts with ourselves. The most important relationship is the one we have with ourselves. Besides writing all these things in the paper, no? You may be wondering, so how do I deal with all these things? The first one, remember, is to acknowledge your loneliness. I am feeling lonely. What is making me feel lonely besides having lost your loved one? You may be even experiencing another type of loss, not only losing a loved one. Maybe you're going through a challenging situation and you may feel that others do not understand you. All these things may happen. So that's why that you want to connect. You want to know how your life changed. So acknowledge that, and validation, validate how you feel. And when we say validation, it's important. When you connect, ask yourself, what do I need right now? What do I need to be understood by others? What do I need to have connection with others? What do I need to be seen, to find meaning? All these questions you can ask yourself. Write it down. Take a pause. Maybe you want to play this video again, and you just take a pause, put it in pause, write the question, and then put it in pause, because it can help you. It can help you reconnect with yourself. Because if you don't feel seen, then take a pause and you can ask, what am I feeling? What do I need right now? That builds inner connection. And then create small points of connection whenever you can. Sending a text, sending a message, respond to that phone call that maybe you are not responding, taking time to meet with someone for a coffee, for a walk in the park, for connection. Because yes, we can do it virtually. As I told you, I have my group in Zoom. However, not only virtually, we can connect. We can connect in person, doing simple things, but being connected, talking to someone that can listen to you. All these things, when you do, helps you to express your grief. It helps you to express how you feel, because grief has a voice. It does. We have a voice, the grievers. We do. I believe so much in that. That's why my latest book is Allow Me to Live My Grief. Allow me, and heal from the inside out. Because we have a voice. That's why this podcast exists. Because I want to remind you that you have a voice, the griever, because we are in this together. And it helps us so much that others witness our grief. This is the message I wanted to bring to you today. Because if you feel lonely, even if we are physically, as we are, physically apart, I want for you to know that my heart is with you. We are in this together. We are grievers, and we can take small steps to find connections, starting with ourselves. Connect with yourself. Connect with your emotions. And that is the first step into healing, into dealing with that loneliness and opening your heart to connect with others as well. I hope you have enjoyed even this message, that you feel that it helped you. And if you feel that way, I would appreciate that you give me a like, you subscribe, you share it with others, with another person that maybe that person is feeling lonely. You see how beautiful it is? It would be that you share this with them. So you show your support, you show your connection. Thank you so much for being here, from my heart to yours.